Okay, so last night I was watching the documentary Bigger, Stronger, Faster about this um, fellow with two brothers, and they all got into powerlifting in high school because they were um, obese in the 80s, like chubby kids, fat kids being made fun of, and they wanted to be strong. And then um, it turns out that the one brother who was featured in the documentary as a powerlifter um, died fairly soon after the documentary was released. He took some kind of um, chemical cleaner that's used for cleaning computers or something, and it gives you some kind of high, and then but it's real dangerous. And so he had been experimenting with recreational drugs, LSD, and along with the steroids. So the whole issue was basically like all these powerlifters are pretty much required to be on steroids, and what does that mean? And um, it's kind of interesting because one of the side effects. I mean, I've never used any kind of drugs except. I mean, I experimented with some I took a strong ayahuasca analog once with DMT, plant-based DMT, and also tried salvia a few times, smoking it, and then I salvia divinorum, which is pretty similar to real strong marijuana, basically. And I smoked or tried marijuana a few times, but other than that, I've never done any kind of um, drugs really. Alcohol a few times, but at any rate, my point is that these powerlifters, so it's in order to have a synthetic source of growth hormone, they end up messing up their natural cycle of um, testosterone, and this is well known now. This is discussed, like even if you take what they call TRT. And so what's interesting about this is when you get deep into meditation, one of the side effects of this is that you are increasing your testosterone naturally through celibacy as a male, but you actually are also increasing your serotonin and then your oxytocin. And so when you open up your heart to open up the third eye, you have to increase your oxytocin, and you're doing this through the right side vagus nerve. So the right side vagus nerve connects to the um, reproductive organs for whether it's a male or female. So in Taoism, the female is called yang internally, and the male is yin internally. And the reason that's true is because every time the male has a reproductive reaction, they become yin because they lose their energy. So the females with the reproductive reaction stays in the um, parasympathetic nervous system, which is the right side vagus nerve, and that connects to the cervix. And so then I was watching this science interview with this lady who she was part of that whole female liberation scene where they promote female what do you call it? How would you explain it? Basically, like sexual female freedom or whatever. So they promote the idea that females should feel ecstasy as much as possible, and She then got a PhD in this subject, and she worked with the Kinsey Institute, and then she started studying males who try to be celibate online. But what's really interesting about that is she totally doesn't connect it to the third eye. So, when you do celibacy in Eastern meditation, what you're doing is you're doing it based on the foundation of emptiness, which is a type of non-dual philosophy that's it's not personal, so it's um, neither inside nor outside your body, and it's neither it's like beyond your deep dreamless sleep. So Westerners, what's fascinating about this is that Westerners probably don't even interact with this concept their whole lives, mainly because we grew up in, like a competitive um, environment where we're trying to dominate and conquer, and so it's very much based on the ego. And so in non-Western meditation, you're basically like merging back into nature. And when you do that, you're accessing this energy that's impersonal and beyond deep dreamless sleep. So this has been rediscovered in quantum physics, but then the mainstream science is based on materialism, so they were quick to dismiss any kind of quantum biology as woo woo and new age. And but so that's what led me to discover non-commutativity, because that's the proper understanding of quantum biology that enables this energy to resonate into a macro scale. And so this researcher, this lady who was interviewed recently about the males trying to be celibate, she basically was like, well, it causes all sorts of problems with their reproductive organ and blah blah blah. And it's kind of similar to somebody going on steroids, because it's if you're not producing testosterone naturally, then it cuts off the brain creating the hormones that would then trigger the reproductive organ to create the testosterone. Hello. Okay, so my point is this: once you open up the third eye, then you're actually, as my training manual explains, you're ionizing your neural hormones, and when you ionize the neural hormones through the third eye, you're actually transforming the internal individualistic neural hormone energy into a non-local energy field that then leaves the third eye. It actually, you can, like, if it's what they call yin chi, it's a negative ions, and so you actually will feel your eyeballs will pulsate at the rate of the Schumann resonance. So I had like somebody visit me from the Dow Bums forum that I used to post on. I posted on that forum for, I don't know, about maybe 10 years or something. Um and so close to 15 years, like a little bit off and on. But so Qigong master Jim Nance called me up one day and said, "Oh, there's somebody who wants to see you." And so I figured, well, if Jim can okay the person, then they they can they can see me. They can come out. They came out and actually stayed at my house for a couple nights, and he was sitting on the couch with me, and he all of a sudden he goes, "Your eyeballs are pulsating." And he freaked out because I was sitting in full lotus next to him, and he was a young guy and he was a big guy, but he was tired. And because he was tired, chi the chi energy was going out of my third eye into him. and because of that process, my that was the yin chi. So the yin chi is like negative ions, and so then it causes my eyeballs to pulsate at the Schumann resonance, which is the theta REM brainwave. So it's like 7 to 8 times a second that my eyeballs would pulsate from the yin chi. So it's just like a negative, like a minor negative ion energy field. So when you're doing that, you're literally burning off your neural hormones. And that's so, in other words, you can maintain celibacy because you're actually burning off the charge that causes the reproductive reaction in the body. In other words, every time the male has that reproductive reaction, it's powered by the yin chi. And so when you go deep into meditation to open up the third eye, you're literally dealing directly with the source of that life force energy, and it actually originates in the heart. So in the heart, you have beyond the physical body, you have this unification of the biophotons as spirit or soul energy, which is the frequency of your intention, with the subconscious reproductive reaction. And so as you go through puberty, that separates out. And so originally, when you come out of birth, it's unified as the Wan Chi with the Wan Shen. And that's why really like young toddlers or babies, they might remember their past lives because they still have that third eye naturally open. And um, but by the age of 2, they pretty most people, once they start talking, then they've crystallized that left brain, and then they start having the separation naturally that then accelerates as they go through, puberty, and so they lose connection with that original unification of their soul energy, and so it's pretty fascinating because Western science is completely unaware of this because of that subconscious psychological blockage based on the reproductive neural hormones that you're like reversing and ionizing. So you're turning the neural hormones into increased neurotransmitters when you meditate through the vagus nerve, the right side vagus nerve, and the pineal gland, because of the blood bypasses the blood-brain barrier when it goes up to the pineal gland. So in Taoism, the yin qi is in the blood, and then the yang qi is in the cerebral spinal fluid. But that's connected with your neural hormones of your life force energy. So the main physical component for males is lecithin, and lecithin is what myelinates the nerves, the neurons. So you're literally like storing up charge like an electric eel. So when you have the eyes open and the yin chi goes out of your eyes after your third eye is open, then you're losing that charge. So you're not storing it up. Whereas if you go deeper into meditation, using the spirit, the biophotons, then you're able to store up the yang chi more through these neural hormones, through celibacy. And when you do that on a deep enough level, then you access the Wan Chi again, which is this like stronger, non-local energy. And so that's how you originally open up the third eye, but then you have to keep going. And this is explained in the book Taoist Yoga, Alchemy, and Immortality. So, like Qigong master Yan Shin, he talks about how he went to the most powerful weightlifter in China at the time, and he just charged the guy up with chi, and the guy was able to suddenly like double his weight lifting power. And it's very difficult for us to believe that like Qigong master Jim Nance, he told me this story how he moved a vehicle out of a ditch like a big van, not using his muscles. at all, just using the chi with one hand like that. And it's hard to believe, but so if you really store up the chi strong enough, like for me, when the propane heater would kick on in my house, I would get a shock in the middle of my brain. So when you meditate on a deep enough level, you start accessing the like electromagnetic energy that's around you, and you start messing with it in your own body, and it gets kind of dangerous because you're like bypassing the energy of civilization itself, and you're tapping into it. And like Qigong Master Yan Shin, he tells a story how one of his he was in a car that stalled out, and so he looked up at the power line overhead, and he transferred the power from the power line to jumpstart the car. But then the car started smoking because he'd used too much power, and then he quick had to reverse the power, and then everything was fine. And his whole point was like, well, it's bi-directional because it's based on your intention. You can always reverse the source of the power, through the meditation. But that doesn't mean it's still not dangerous because you know um the guy who visited me, he had also gone to China, and he saw Master Feng Jiang Feng. And if you watch my playlist, he demonstrates pyrokinesis. But he was famous in this Dao Bums forum, but he just keeled over one day. He was overhealing somebody using this laser energy that comes from the heart. It originates from the heart. So he overused it when he was healing somebody. And there's lots of videos of him on YouTube doing pyrokinesis, but now he's no longer alive because he just keeled over while he was healing somebody. And you're right. Um, that's all I wanted to say.